What's up, everybody? It's Mel here for another reaction. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm doing good. So, recently I received an email from a fan saying, "Hey, Melvin, I know that you like the Haunted Mansion." Like, who doesn't? It's an iconic attraction. Who haven't seen the movies? Well, depends which. There's three. A. Murphy, the Muppet one, and the 2023, which I consider a better one than the 2003. It's a, hey, there's a video that was done by Theme Park History on the Haunted Mansion. I think you might check it out. Like, really? It turns out it was uploaded 2 years ago. I didn't know. It's like shit because one, I haven't seen some of his videos in years. There's some video I saw that was pretty cool. Even so, like went from 6 years ago. Like holy shit, that I've been rewatching during the pandemic. Like you better update. There's one he did on the Universal Halloween Horror Nights, which is only from 1991 in 2018. Which, like, hey dude, I think you better update this video from 1999 to now, like 2025, because there've been a lot of different new attractions in the 2020s, minus the pandemic. But anywho, this is actually theme park history of the Haunted Mansion, Disneyland slash the Magic Kingdom, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. If you don't know who have been to the attraction, there's like different versions. You have the first one in California, the second in Florida, the third in Japan. Well, scratch that. Well, yeah, I think the third was Japan, and the fourth was Paris, but that's a more darker version, which is not called the Haunted Mansion, it's called Phantom Manor. Which, I wish they made a movie of that. That would have been pretty cool. There's also one in China, in Beijing, Disneyland, or to Singapore, which is not called Haunted or Phantom, it's called Mystic Manor. It's like you mix the Haunted Mansion with Night in the Museum. But yeah, so let's check out this video, and before we begin, hit the bell, subscribe, notification, you know it. Let's welcome to Old Gracie Manor and see what we got.
Boy, this place
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Let me raise the volume here. I couldn't hear shit.
I wonder what weird things happen.
Oh, this is the sing-along. I remember this. Shit, I remember this. This is from the Disney sing-along. This is the one where they had in the theme park. Fun fact, they also did one for Phantom Manor, and I'm sorry, but I like Phantom Manor better. It's the Grim Gurning Ghost one, you know, from the sing-along. You remember the Disney sing-alongs? There's two versions of this Haunted Mansion. This is one in California. There's one in Phantom Manor in Paris, which, I'm sorry, Phantom Manor hits it hard and looks pretty damn cool. Because of the outfits, and also, they have the Phantom right there, and the Ghost Bride in the opening right there. The Phantom casting spells in the trees. Instead of the trees come back to life in the US version, in Phantom Manor, it's the Phantom who brings the trees to life, which is actually pretty cool. Jesus. And we got the singers, you get the skeleton dance.
Hello and welcome to Theme Park History, the channel for everything to do with theme parks. Old and new, big and small. In today's episode, we take a tour through the moldering sanctum of the spirit world as we explore the Haunted Mansion, a dark ride attraction that opened at Disneyland on August 9th, 1969, Magic Kingdom on October 1st, 1971, and Tokyo Disneyland.
Okay. And if you're gonna be, I want to know your opinion. Okay, I know if you heard of the Cars Land as being Magic Kingdom, like, okay, how the hell that will work if you have the Haunted Mansion there? Because, okay, Tom Sawyer's Island and Rivers of America, it probably fit in, New England style America, because you have the Haunted Mansion right there, overlooking the river, like a Dutch mansion overlooking the Hudson River. Huh? I don't know. With a whole shitload of land, they just want to get rid of something that's iconic. Ha! They got rid of the train. You know which one was them? The campgrounds. Now they get rid of the steamboat. And where they gonna put that thing? Like a massive steamship. Then they took out the train. Look what happened. What a waste.
On April 15th,
Okay,
1983, this
awesome.
attraction was suggested by all these foolish mortals.
You know that, because remember, Florida does not snow. Japan does, and look at that mansion covered in snow. That's eerie. Pretty cool.
So thank you to everyone for the comments. One of the most beloved and popular attractions in the history of Disney theme parks, the Haunted Mansion is a crown jewel of Disney Imagineering and a fan favorite since the opening of the Disneyland original over 50 years ago. A mix of the frightening and the frightfully funny, the shivering journey through an eerie haunted estate that's home to 999 happy haunts relies on audio animatronics, special effects, and simple visual trickery to create a ghoulishly delightful experience.
One I want to go is the Paris one. I'm a fan of darker stuff. And holy shit, more ads. Even the dog agrees with me.
Yes. In 1948, Walt Disney began conceiving plans for an amusement park where parents and children could have fun together, called Mickey Mouse Park. The 16-acre plot of land right across the street from the Disney studio in Burbank, California would have been associated with the Mickey Mouse brand, and unlike other outdoor entertainment venues at the time, featured a lot of well-kept foliage. Some attractions were a main village with a train surrounding the entire park, a town hall, movie theater, carnival with games and roller coasters, and a haunted house. When the Burbank City Council rejected the proposal for the Mickey Mouse Park in 1952, Walt took his plans about 35 miles south on Interstate 5 to Anaheim 1 year later, where he bought a 160-acre plot of land and incorporated many of his ideas to create the theme park we know today as Disneyland. When construction began in 1954, Walt hired art director Marvin Davis to help design and lay out every aspect of the park's conceptualization and architecture. While the idea of a haunted house was considered, it wouldn't make it into the park's final design due to time and budget constraints. With Disneyland becoming a huge success after opening in 1955, Walt went forward with plans to expand the happiest place on Earth for the ever-increasing crowds. New Orleans Square was the first new area added to the park, officially announced by Walt in 1958 and was even featured on that year's park map, a themed companion piece to Frontierland. The 3-acre area is a recreation of the Big Easy as it appeared during the period just before the Civil War, featuring Southern cuisine restaurants, a wax museum, a thieves market, and a haunted house as the cornerstone of the new area. With the haunted house concept resurrected, Walt hired an art director from his studio, Ken Anderson, to plan and develop the attraction. Taking inspiration from the original concept art for Mickey Mouse Park created by Disney artist Harper Goff and the New Orleans setting, Anderson drew up a dilapidated antebellum manor overgrown with weeds, dead trees, swarms of bats, and boarded doors and windows topped by a screeching cat as a weather vane. The concept was so well received that fellow artist Sam McKinn turned the drawing into the painting that would become the attraction's official portrait. Even though it was approved within WED Enterprises, Walt rejected the idea of having a run-down building in his pristine Disneyland, forcing Anderson to head back to the drawing board. Brainstorming ideas for a revamped facade, Anderson took a trip one weekend to tour the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. The 160-room mansion, a maze of hallways and rooms of all shapes and sizes, with doors that open to brick walls and stairways that lead to nowhere, inspired Anderson to create an original story for the haunted house. Written by Anderson in 1957, the attraction story focused on the local legend of the mansion's owner, Captain Gore, a murderous 18th century pirate who retired from his life of crime to live in a manor in New Orleans, who disappeared mysteriously many years earlier. Under an alias, Gore posed as a wealthy sea merchant and married a beautiful woman named Priscilla, unaware of Gore's past life. One night, Priscilla wandered into the mansion's attic where she found evidence of Gore's terrifying past. Knowing too much, Gore killed his wife and threw the body down a nearby well. Priscilla's ghost, along with the ghosts of everyone Gore had ever killed, returned from the afterlife to haunt the pirate, driving him to commit suicide by hanging himself to death. Gore's ghost is said to be trapped in the mansion, haunted by his victims' spirits for all eternity. For the actual attraction, A cast member playing the role of either a maid or butler would take guests on a tour of the mansion, encountering Gore and Priscilla's ghosts via illusions and visual trickery. Due to Walt believing that the story was too dark and mature for the guests of Disneyland, the legend of Captain Gore would end up being nothing more than a ghost story.
Doctor, right?
In a second attempt to create a story for the haunted house, the 100-year-old Bloodmere Manor was relocated from New Orleans to Disneyland, with plans for it to be restored and become the cornerstone of the new area of the park. Owned by the Blood family, who unfortunately have a tragic and bloody history of sudden and violent passings. Their spirits haunt the mansion, determined to undo any work done by the construction crew, making sure the resting place is left in its original condition. Even in its battered state, guests were still able to tour the mansion, reliving some of those tragedies that took place within, including the wedding day of the Blood family daughter, an event described as, quote, too horrible to mention, which prevented the ceremony. Since that day, on each anniversary date of this tragedy, ghosts gather at this place to celebrate the wedding that never happened, trying to lift the curse and free themselves. Once again, Walt felt that the storyline was too dark, forcing Anderson back to the drawing board yet again. Anderson's third attempt would be much lighter in tone than the Captain Gore and Bloodmere Manor tales, even featuring Walt himself welcoming guests live.
I have to pause here because there was actually when Walt Disney invited every ghost from around the world, Japan sent them a bust of their most famous ghost, Oiwa. If you don't know, she's a famous Japanese spirit or oniro, which is famed in most of folklore and plays, which her story is quite known for a reason. And if you type in her name, I think you know the story. There's a bunch of like woodblock paintings of her, even movies done, like The Ghost of Oiwa, or Yosura Kaiden, which is the Japanese name, or The Ghost of Oiwa, which, that's a good movie and a good story. I recommend it. And they still have, in the archive, they still have the actual bust that they received from Japan. The reason why they never put in the Haunted Mansion is because it's too dark. Like, hey, so what? So you let other parts of the world join in and not her? What's so dark about a vengeful wife exacting her revenge on her samurai husband? I think she'll make a fine guest at Phantom Manor.
On tape, instead of a god who would have been taken away by a hairy hand and arm, a friendly, lonesome ghost instead escorts guests through the mansion, only to discover its residents from beyond the grave were getting together for a wedding celebration. While it was the most unique of the three stories pitched so far for the haunted house, Walt wasn't a fan of it, and once again the storyline was dropped. Anderson's fourth and final attempt would keep most of the elements from his previous one, but now heavily featured source material from the company's animated adaptation of Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, in which guests would relive the events from the perspective of the Headless Horseman and his intended victim, Ichabod Crane. This version of the story would also be dropped, as it was determined the amount of storytelling needed to introduce Sleepy Hollow would have ultimately bored guests. With all of his ideas for the attraction's storyline shot down by Walt, Anderson moved on from the project in 1958 to once again work on animated Disney films, including such classics as Sleeping Beauty and 101 Dalmatians. To replace Anderson, Walt brought in two artists from his studio, Raleigh Crump and Yale Gracie, to work on the project, with Raleigh known for teaching himself how to recreate some of the world's most incredible stage illusions, and Yale having a reputation as a mechanical genius and master model builder. Walt put the two to the special effects and illusions for the attraction, spending most of 1959 planning and development. The duo created and tested numerous effects, some of which were portraits and marble busts following guests' every move, as well as an eerie projection that eventually became known as the Leota effect. While working on all of these terrifying tricks, Raleigh and Yale developed their own story for the haunted house, resurrecting the characters and story elements from Anderson's Captain Gore concept. Covered in seaweed and soaking wet from a torrential storm, the murderous sea captain would appear out of thin air in front of guests and all of a sudden dissolve into a pool of seawater.
This ad is a headache.
Libre, the original eau de parfum, and the new alcohol-free fragrance Yves Saint Laurent.
ads, that's the problem.
Pool seawater, flooding the room before drying up, leaving only a few puddles behind. While described by people who saw demonstrations of the scene as nothing short of spectacular, it was shut down by Disneyland officials due to taking too long to efficiently operate, ranging anywhere between 3 to 4 minutes to stage. Even though Walt was impressed with Raleigh and Yale's work, due to a combination of perpetual story issues, hit-or-miss special effects, and operational concerns, he decided to put the Haunted House project on pause in 1960. With construction beginning on New Orleans Square in 1961, Walt anticipated by the time it was scheduled to open 2 years later, Imagineers would have came up with a concept for the haunted house he approved of. This wouldn't end up being the case, as both New Orleans Square and the haunted house were put on indefinite hold in 1963 due to Walt and the entire Wet Enterprises shifting their focus to the 1964 New York World's Fair. Only the exterior of the attraction was completed, a southern antebellum mansion similar to the one originally pitched by Ken Anderson, with a sign inviting any wandering lost souls to take up residency in the supernatural retirement home. After the success of Disney's 4 attractions at the fair, 3 of which eventually made their way to Disneyland, Walt and Imagineers shifted their focus back to any projects that were previously being worked on, specifically in this case the Haunted Mansion. 2 Imagineers joined the project in mid-1964, Mark Davis and Claude Coates, responsible for creating the ghostly characters and designing the mansion's lavish environments. Davis developed his own story for the attraction, replacing the lonesome ghost with a phantom ghost host, who would narrate the walking tour of the mansion, along with a live but mute butler escorting guests through scenes including the elongating room, portrait gallery, seance room, and a finale where the ghost host appears from a rainstorm raging outside the mansion, revealing he's murdered a bride and her fiancé, reviving elements from both Raleigh and Yale's concept as well as Ken Anderson's original storyline. Work on the attraction was coming along until it was delayed once again in 1965, as Walt decided he wanted to install 3 of those World's Fair attractions mentioned earlier. It's a Small World, Carousel of Progress, and Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln to Disneyland. After these attractions made their debut at the happiest place on Earth, Walt's attention went to 2 other projects instead of the Haunted Mansion: the complete redesign of Tomorrowland, and the last attraction he would ever oversee, Pirates of the Caribbean, before passing away on December 15th, 1966, just 3 months before it opened. Losing Walt's guiding creative force and final say was a major blow on the construction of the Haunted Mansion, which by this point had gone through a period of planning and development for over 10 years. Richard Irvine, the Wet Enterprises vice president at the time, decided to name Davis and Coates as the creative directors of the Haunted Mansion, as not only had the 2 previously worked on the attraction, but the duo enjoyed enormous success with Pirates of the Caribbean, which quickly became the most popular ride at the park. While Irvine expected the 2's success to continue, tensions between Davis and Coates began to flare, as both felt they had earned the right to take the lead for the project. The biggest challenge the attraction faced was whether it should be a frightening or enjoyable experience, as Davis felt that since ghosts were already scary to begin with, the story should be lighthearted. At the same time, Coates insisted guests would expect some scares within an attraction called the Haunted Mansion. Davis was eventually able to convince Irvine to make the attraction story silly and full of gags, and as you can imagine, this led to a clash of creative differences, resulting in 2 completely distinct experiences within the attraction itself. In a pitch made by the 2, the first half of the ride would have been all about Claude's specialty of environments, creating an ominous and scary atmosphere without the need of any ghouls or ghosts. However, the second half of the ride would focus on Davis's forte of mischievous characters and visual gags. The jarring perspectives of the attraction were a cause of concern, as it created a non-linear storyline that would leave guests confused as to what was actually going on throughout the mansion. To fix this issue, Imagineer and show writer for the attraction, Xavier Intencio, combined both concepts in a way that made sense, having to unite Davis's characters and Coates' settings, as well as Crump and Gracie's illusions and special effects to create a cohesive narrative out of more than 10 years worth of material. X concentrated on the scenes Davis and Coates were working on and arranging them in a way logically in terms of the mansion's physical layout, as well as the overall emotional construct to keep guests engaged. The result was X using Walt's original idea of a retirement home for any displaced spirit where they could spend the rest of their afterlives haunting any unaware guest touring the mansion, creating a 3-act structure transitioning from dark and foreboding to spirited entertainment. Besides being responsible for the attraction's story, X also had the task of creating a theme song for the Haunted Mansion as well, taking the same approach he did for Pirates of the Caribbean's Yo-Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me. X created a rousing song accompanied by light-hearted lyrics to lighten up the attraction's somewhat questionable theme and mood. Set to music by veteran studio composer Buddy Baker, Grim Grinning Ghosts features a chord progression that provides a ghastly mood within the mansion. Not only does the theme act as a musical backdrop for the grand finale, but different arrangements can be heard all around the ride, with speakers disguised within each scene to allow the music to fade in and out, influencing guests' feelings every time it's heard. With the Haunted Mansion storyline issues finally laid to rest, another issue plaguing it was what type of attraction it would actually be. From its conception all the way back in 1951, the idea for the attraction was to create a walkthrough experience. As Imagineers drew up in 1963 plans for two identical experiences, each occupying half of one large show building. However, as the popularity of Disneyland continued to grow over the years, officials wanted to drive as many people through the attraction per hour as possible and suggested a ride-through system instead. Luckily for the Imagineers, a brand new ride system was available at their disposal, the Omni Mover. Inspired by the People Mover ride system developed for Ford's Magic Skyway at the 1964 New York World's Fair, the Omni Mover consists of a train of swiveling, clamshell-shaped pods that can spin, turn, and tilt 360 degrees. Designed in a way so that guests would see what Imagineers intended them to. Consisting of a chain of vehicles operating on a track hidden beneath the floor, the ride system sends an endless stream of guests through the attraction at a constant pace, ensuring a high capacity and meeting officials' requirements. Imagineers copied the clamshell pods from Adventure Through Inner Space, painted them black, and renamed them Doom Buggies. The track length of the ride is 960 feet long, and on average, the ride system can accommodate more than 2,400 guests per hour when all 131 Doom Buggies are being used. After 18 years of planning and development, 6 years of anticipation due to the mansion being constructed, and with a price tag of over $7 million, the doors to the Haunted Mansion finally creaked open to the public at Disneyland on August 9th, 1969.
Okay. That's close enough. And we got a boring ad. This is getting stupid. And goodbye.
D9.
The Haunted Mansion was an idea of Walt Disney's. You see, he began to worry where ghosts were going to live after all the old houses were torn down to make room for freeways. He decided that if someone didn't give him a house to live in, why, they'd just disappear. So Mr. Disney built the Haunted Mansion.
He has sideburns.
Oh boy, but I'm sure glad it's not Halloween tonight.
Well, how come, Donnie?
Well, there'd be so many ghosts here, there wouldn't be any room for us.
Oh, boy. Come on, the line's moving. Yeah.
Located in New Orleans Square, guests enter through a pair of gates and into the grounds of a mansion inspired by the Shipley Lydecker house, passing by a pet cemetery, a mausoleum full of pun names, and a white carriage hearse led by an invisible horse. Guests eventually make their way into the mansion via the foyer, where uncanny cast members dressed as butlers and maids welcome them inside. Inside the atrium, a large cobweb chandelier holds flickering candles that light the space.
Oh yeah, a little fun fact. If you pass by the graveyard, there's like different names on the tombstones. Each of the names are actually names of the Imagineers that have involvement in the creating and producing of the Haunted Mansion. Like Mark Davis and many others, including Thor Ravenscroft, aka the guy who sang the song from How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the original voice of Tony the Tiger, and also one of the singing Bust, who sang Grim Grinning Ghosts right there in the Haunted Mansion.
And a single-note melody provides the theme for the attraction. When enough guests have gathered into the foyer, the ghost host introduces himself to the foolish mortals, welcoming them to the Haunted Mansion. Two doors slide open that lead into an octagonal portrait chamber, full of paintings hanging on the walls, in which guests are encouraged by the mansion servants to move into the dead center of the room. Once guests have filled all the dead space in the chamber, the doors close shut, sealing them inside. Now surrounded by...
Let me tell you something. The first time I went to the Haunted Mansion was in Florida, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, because here's something else. My knowledge of the Haunted Mansion was from the 2003 movie. I never been to the attraction until I went there back in 2011 during the summer, and wow. Actually, guess what? I went to the gift shop. I've actually bought myself the playing cards from the Haunted Mansion. I still have it here. I still have it here, but the cap broke, so here, look. One of the playing cards from the Magic Kingdom. I like the design, they look pretty cool. On the, of course, they made the Joker Mount Leota, plus the cards are glow in the dark. They even feature like the queen, the king, the jack, and the shit as one of the portraits. See, you got the lady on typer on the alligator. You also have the other one, Miss Hatchaway on top of the grave of her husband with the axe on his head. The king, I think this is supposed to be the rich guy who's standing on a barrel of TNT. You have the three guys standing on quicksand. I think that's it, right? How many are there? Like three? Only three of them? Yeah, there's only three portraits of them. If I'm mistaken. Let's see.
Paintings of some of the mansion's former guests, as well as gargoyles holding flickering candles. The ghost host makes his presence once again, taunting the mortals trapped inside the chamber, gloating that there's no windows or doors to escape out of. Suddenly, the chamber begins to stretch and the portraits begin to extend, revealing their subjects' fates. In reality, this room is actually an elevator with no roof that's being slowly lowered below ground level where the ride begins, creating the illusion that the room itself is stretching. As the stretching room continues to lower,
I know how to keep pausing, but here's something else. You know how difficult it is to put that thing up? Like, you gotta get in alignment when the stretching room starts. It's like it's an elevator, and the room goes down. That is damn difficult to put that in place. And if you recall the Nightmare Before Christmas version, when for Halloween, the Christmas one, that put over it, like you have the portraits of have Sally and that put their version over the originals, because imagine taking that out, put it back in, and the pain in the ass to put it right so it'll stretch correctly. If it doesn't, it'll be a pain in the ass. That's what they had to put over. Plus, these are like newer ones because the originals were removed, replaced with newer ones. So the original ones are in the archives. Which, damn. I feel bad for those out there trying to fix that portrait so the effect will work. Because people will know if the portrait's like crooked or what. Jesus.
The ghost host challenges the mortals to find a way out, and after a burst of ghostly laughter, the host suggests that the only way out is the way he escaped. All of a sudden, the lights go out, and lightning and thunder fill the room, revealing the grisly fate of the host, his remains hanging from a noose from the ceiling rafters above. The room becomes pitch black, and a loud, blood-curdling scream is heard, followed by the sound of clattering bones. The lights suddenly come back on, revealing a panel in the chamber's wall has opened, which leads to a long, dimly lit corridor. It's in this corridor where guests travel underneath the Disneyland Railroad and into the show building where the actual ride takes place. In this corridor,
it's a little fun fact because there's the one here in California, the elevator goes down. The one in Florida, the elevator, there's no elevator. It's just the room. It's the roof that goes up, except the floor goes down. Because remember, Florida's a wetland, so people just the elevator goes up for only the roof, and people walk in for the attraction. I didn't know that.
On the left are windows that overlook a moonlit landscape, illuminated by suddenly violent flashes of lightning, while on the right are numerous portraits, each slowly transforming into the nightmare fuel of corpses and monsters. Reaching the end of the hallway are two marble busts of a man and woman, each following the guests' every move as they make their way past them and into the misty, decaying, bloating area. It's here where guests step onto a moving walkway and board their doom buggy, with the ghost hosts ready to escort them on their own personal tour of the mansion, lowering the safety bar before their journey begins. Gliding upstairs to the second floor, the doom buggy rotates to point guests down an endless hallway where a candelabra floats gracefully in the air. Near the hallway entrance are a large armchair and suit of armor, keeping a close watch on the living. Floating into the conservatory, the ghost host tells guests that all of the ghosts have been dying to meet them. Guests stumble upon a funeral, complete with a long black coffin surrounded by decaying floral arrangements. It seems the ghost inside the coffin didn't get the memo, as he desperately attempts to lift the lid to escape, hopelessly calling out for help. The ghost host grimly mocks the wretched soul, saying he could hardly contain himself. As the doom buggy makes its way through a corridor of doors on both sides, the restless spirits of the mansion make their presence known with the sounds of pounding, screeching.
The breathing door. And shit.
Famosos en todo el mundo. El Señor Fantástico.
I'm glad
La
to see
Mujer
that.
Invisible. La Antorcha.
That is good.
screeching, calls for help, and maniacal laughter. Many of the doorknobs and handles of the doors twist and turn by themselves. A pair of monstrous hands grips one door open, attempting to break free, while another appears to look like it's breathing, bulging in and out. At the end of the corridor is a grandfather clock, its arms spinning wildly backward and striking 13 while a shadow of a clawed hand passes over the face of the clock. With the chimes of the clock still ringing in the air, the Doom buggies drift into a dark seance room, complete with its own crystal ball floating above a table, tarot cards, and the Necronomicon, open to the spell set to summon spirits back from limbo. As the buggy turns toward the table, guests come face to face with Madame Leota, a medium whose disembodied head appears within the crystal ball. Chanting a mournful and sad incantation, Leota summons the mansion's spirits to make themselves visible so that guests may meet them and join in their afterlife activities. Musical instruments and other objects begin to spin in the air in response to the clairvoyant's plea. The buggy leaves the seance and makes its way onto the balcony overlooking the Grand Hall, a spectacular ballroom where happy haunts begin to materialize. Gathered to celebrate a swinging wake, a group of spirits is seated at a long banquet table, fading in and out in sync with the hostess' repeated attempts to blow out the candles on their Death Day cake. Other souls could be seen joining in the festivities, entering from a hearse just parked outside the hall. Just past the table, ghoulish couples dance the night away as an organist plays a waltz rendition.
Here's a little fun fact. The amateurs are not standing there. They're under you because there's a mirror, and it's not the men who are leading. It's the women because, the dresses hide the platform where they start spinning. But it's an illusion. You heard the ghost pepper effect? That. And they're not right there. The floor is empty. They're under. And have them use a mirror to protect them like they're ghosts. That's a good effect, actually. I think they do
of grim-grinning ghosts on an enormous pipe organ just above the dance floor are two portraits of pistol-wielding duelists who come to life to settle their score, only to once again end in a draw. Leaving the Grand Hall, the buggy travels into the dark, dusty, and cluttered attic of the mansion, full of long-stored gifts and mementos from weddings that took place more than a century ago. Making their way through the attic, guests hear the sound of a beating heart, the sinister piano rendition of the wedding march, and come across 5 different marriage paintings with the same bride but with a different groom in each. All of the portraits have the same common theme. Each groom's head disappears, only to reappear seconds later, after passing the music source. A broken-down piano with an invisible pianist whose shadow can be seen. Guests come face-to-face with the ghost of the lovely bride, Constance, repeating her marriage vows. An axe appears in her hands, looking to add another lover to her collection possibly. Noping the hell out of the attic, the buggy makes it onto a ramshackle balcony stocked with...
There's something else you didn't know. There have been many versions of the bride. There's many versions. You have one with being hard. One who's no face at all, just glowing yellow eyes. Which, there's one that was withered, like a walking corpse. Which was a nightmare. It's scary as fuck. Until they finally, with Constance, which, fun fact, I think they made a canon, made it official that the woman in the painting set on her husband's grave, the axe, it's actually Constance in her old age, sitting on her husband George's grave with an axe on his head. It's actually confirmed. You can see a Funko Pop of her. Yep.
Hat boxes, where a ghastly-looking spirit holding a hat box chuckles as his head disappears and reappears inside of the hat box he's holding. Pulling out the attic window, the buggy safely arrives in the graveyard, where the caretaker and his dog are shaking in terror at what's taking place. Hundreds of ghouls from various periods in time rising from their graves, while a jazzy rendition of Grim-Grinning Ghosts is performed by the Phantom 5, a ghostly band of minstrels. Ghosts pop up from behind tombstones for a jump scare. A king and queen balance from a teeter-totter, and a duchess swings back and forth from a tree branch, all while a skeletal hellhound howls from behind them. The buggy makes its way down a hill where guests see 5 singing busts continuing to sing along with Grim-Grinning Ghosts. Continuing through the graveyard, more happy haunts come out to socialize, including a tea party of ghosts surrounding a hearse stuck in the mud. At the same time, banshees ride bikes in the distance. The ghost of a hearing-impaired old spirit struggles to understand the words of an awakened mummy through a hearing horn. and 3 other ghosts. A German accented decapitated knight, his executioner, and a gravely voiced prisoner also join in song. As the buggy enters a giant stone crypt, the ghost host makes its presence known one last time as guests come face to face with the mansion's most popular characters. Beware of the hitchhiking ghosts. The trio, known from left to right as Phineas, Ezra, and Gus, are looking for a ride from the mansion and into Disneyland, which, to be honest, is near impossible to do with the demand of the annual pass these days. As the buggy continues deeper into the crypt, it passes in front of a series of large mirrors where, to either the guests' dismay or delight, they find out that one of the 3 ghosts has hitched a ride and is now seated next to them. Making its way out of the crypt, guests on board from the buggy and onto a moving walkway, bringing them back to the living world. On their ascension, guests encounter one more ghost, a tiny apparition standing atop the ledge called the Ghostess, who holds a bouquet and stares wistfully into the distance. As they make their way back to New Orleans Square, the Ghostess encourages guests to hurry back, but to make sure they bring their death certificate next time they decide to, as they are dying to have them as a permanent fixture of the Haunted Mansion. The 7.5-minute attraction was met with overwhelmingly positive reception from guests, due in part to the dark ride's story, dark humor, audio animatronics, practical and special effects, each helping create various unforgettable moments throughout. Just a week after its grand opening on August 16th, the attraction was responsible for setting the single-day Disneyland attendance record of 82,516 guests. The Haunted Mansion was an instant hit when it first opened and has remained one of the park's most popular and beloved attractions for more than 50 years, welcoming guests of all ages to look alive as they tour the ghostly retreat.
Shit.
Dercos, sistema anticaspa recomendado por dermatólogos. Elimina hasta el 100% de la caspa. Formulados con sulfuro de selenio, ácido salicílico y niacinamida para reequilibrar el cuero cabelludo. Sistema anticaspa Dercos.
La realidad es que trabajo en la calle día y noche y mis familiares se preocupan. Por eso opto echar gasolina en una estación móvil que está bien iluminada. Tras que es la gasolina que más me rinde, es la más segura que me siento.
Dumbass. Thank you very much.
With the remarkable success of the Haunted Mansion breaking attendance records at Disneyland, the decision to bring the attraction to Walt Disney World was a no-brainer. As with much of the Magic Kingdom, many of the opening day attractions were replicas from Disneyland, including the Haunted Mansion, as Imagineers produced the audio animatronic figures, props, and set pieces for both versions of the Haunted Mansion at the same time, knowing that the Magic Kingdom attraction would open 2 years after its Anaheim predecessor. While each offers a fairly similar ride experience, the two attractions have some differences, the most obvious being their location and appearance. While Disneyland's Antebellum Mansion fits within New Orleans Square, the area wasn't included as one of the 6 lands of Magic Kingdom, as Imagineers decided to take Walt's concept of Liberty Street and expand it into a larger and more elaborate area, recreating life in a colonial American town set during the American Revolutionary War known as Liberty Square, to better blend in with the colonial surroundings. The Magic Kingdom's mansion was designed to look like a Dutch Gothic manor from the period. Besides the changes made to the mansion's design, the Magic Kingdom's show building is larger due to not being restricted by any railroad berm like it is in Disneyland, around 50,000 square feet compared to Disneyland's 40,000, and the ride duration is about 2 minutes longer due to 3 additional scenes, an extended portrait gallery, a library with marble busts that stare at guests, and a room full of endless staircases that go in all directions. Other notable differences between the 2 versions are guests enter through a side entrance in the basement instead of the front door. The stretching room isn't an actual elevator, and instead the ceiling rises. And while seen as a portrait, the Hatbox Ghost animatronic was not part of the ride when it opened, which will change in 2023 when the character will be added to the mansion's ghoulish lineup. The entire attraction was completely installed 6 months before officially opening with the rest of the Magic Kingdom on October 1st.
You see, the original animatronic for the Hatbox Ghosts, in theory, it worked perfectly because of the dim light, but when the mansion first opened, let's just say the lights were not that dark, and the effect, when his head disappears? Yeah. When it tries to disappear its head, you can see both ones, even when it's not bright, and they had to get rid of the animatronic, and the animatronic disappeared. And nobody knows where the animatronic is, until Imagineer managed to create a new version as a prototype and show how it actually worked. And what you see now and current, now is what is the current Hatbox Ghost. It worked perfectly.
1971. Just like its Anaheim counterpart, the Florida version of the attraction was an immediate hit with guests, quickly becoming one of the most popular dark rides at the park. Because of the attraction's success and its two flagship theme parks, Imagineers knew they would have to bring the Haunted Mansion to the first Disney theme park outside the United States, Tokyo Disneyland. While a direct copy of the Magic Kingdom version, the most significant change made to the ride was finding a place to put it, as both New Orleans Square and Liberty Square were not part of the park's layout. Originally planned to be stationed in either Main Street USA or Frontierland, it was eventually decided to make Fantasyland the final resting place for the haunted estate, due to Japanese culture believing ghost stories as fairy tales were fables. The Haunted Mansion opened with the rest of Tokyo Disneyland on April 15th, 19...
Okay, now I want to see that original TV spot for the attraction at Tokyo Disneyland for the Haunted Mansion. And there's something else. I want to hear their theme of Grim Green Ghost in Japanese. It would be catchy as well. But it's quite rare. Then, okay, remember guys, this is the US, and you can't find, unless you have a VPN, then you might find it. Oh boy.
1983. While there are only 3 officially recognized by Disney, the Haunted Mansion is the inspiration for 2 likewise themed attractions. Opening with Disneyland Paris on April 12, 1992, Phantom Manor is a darker and scarier reimagining of the Haunted Mansion with its own unique storyline and soundtrack. The attraction quickly became one of the park's most popular rides and is considered by many Disney fans to be a cult classic. Almost 20 years after Phantom Manor's opening, Mystic Man...
And also, guess who narrates Phantom Manor? The legend himself, Vincent Price. He literally narrated. You can even hear his iconic laugh. I think it was like 70 or mid 80 when he had to do the recordings for being the narrator or the host / the Phantom in Phantom Manor, which his laugh. If any of you have seen Michael Jackson's Thriller, that iconic laugh. Yeah, he did that in that age. Imagine that. Jesus Christ. What a legend. And we got
officially opened at Hong Kong Disneyland on May 17th, 2013. Unlike the dark themes of Haunted Mansion and Phantom Manor, the reimagining of this attraction instead has a light-hearted, fantasy-based theme with no references to ghosts or the afterlife due to differences in traditional Chinese culture. Also unlike the other attractions, Mystic Manor features a trackless ride system instead of an omni-mover, a musical score by Danny Elfman, and a storyline which connects it to the Society of Explorers and Adventurers located within Tokyo Disney Sea, just as Phantom Man.
See what I did there? Still like Night in the Museum. Objects come to life, and always a troublesome monkey.
Manor did. The attraction quickly became a huge success with guests, cementing its place as a modern classic created by Imagineers, as both are considered the evolution of the enduring classic which inspired them. While I would love to go into more detail about each of these attractions, it seems that each deserves its own...
Yeah. That's something else you didn't know. The Hong Kong version of Disneyland, their attractions are like connected. Like they have their own version of the Tower of Terror, Mystic Manor. They're all connected to a society of explorers of each their own story. And when you go to Tower of Terror, it involves a greedy explorer who's more greedy and ends up disappearing because he took a tiki idol, which, well, backfires him, and also the greedy bastard disappears out of nowhere to be found again. That's an awesome movie to see. And that's the only theme park that connects all the attractions in one story. Well, Phantom Manor connects to, the Thunder Mesa, like the whole area, like a gold rush, and the mansion's like the foundation.
Standalone episode, maybe sometime in the near future. Even though there have been changes made to the Disneyland attraction throughout its 50+ actions, it seems that each...
Dude, okay, look at the poster of Phantom Manor. You see the Phantom right there. Like, has his grabs on the manor. And that's a Victorian mansion. Well, this one, okay, Mystic Manor looks a bit like the Winchester Mystery House. Like, the roofs, it looks similar like the Winchester Mansion. Yeah, a little. Well, you tell it a little bit. You know, like each part of the world, like the rotating roof, like the famous one in Russia. You got different roof types, different cultures. But Fat Man, I'm sorry, that looks like an awesome movie to see. I wish we got that. Why can't we have that? We got Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, and that was dark as hell, and it made a whole lot of money. You know what's funny? The first film didn't win an Academy Award. The second one did. And it's the only one of all 5 Pirates of the Caribbean films that won an Academy Award. Ain't that a coinky-dink, huh? Dude. And many of us want to see if they could do a Phantom Menace version of a film, because, come on. The problem is, I think it might be safe they won, because in this current age, let's just say this current generation will just fuck it up. Like, yeah. Full starboard in the ass. Fucked up.
Deserves its own standalone episode, maybe sometime in the near future. Even though there have been changes made to the Disneyland attraction throughout its 50-plus year lifespan, none have altered the overall ride significantly, as many have been upgrades to the ride's lighting, sound, audio animatronics, and special effects. Probably the biggest change to the attraction started in 2001 when the Haunted Mansion became the Haunted Mansion Holiday, a seasonal overlay that blends the settings and characters of the attraction with those of the 1993 stop-motion animated film The Nightmare Before Christmas. Taking place shortly after the events of the film, Jack Skellington discovers the Haunted Mansion, wanting to spread joy and cheer to the mansion's gloomy residents for the holidays. Jack and his friends from Halloween Town bring hundreds of Christmas presents and decorations to the manor, decking the haunting grounds for a thrilling and chilling holiday for the ghosts inhabiting the abandoned mansion. The overlay was an immediate hit with guests, so much so that a simple...
Okay, go back. Guess what they did with the bus?
Bring hundreds of Christmas presents and decorations to the manor, decking the haunting grounds for a thrilling and chilling holiday for the ghosts inhabiting the abandoned mansion. The overlay was an immediate hit with guests.
And here they are. They literally just shoved pumpkins on the singing bus, and look at that. They're singing bus jack-o'-lanterns. Instead of, they combine Grim Grim Ghost and Christmas Carol. It's quite catchy, actually.
So much so that a similar transformation called Haunted Mansion Holiday Nightmare began at Tokyo Disneyland in 2004. Unfortunately, as of October 2022, there are still no plans to bring Jack and the rest of the citizens from Halloween Town to the Magic Kingdom. Also, did you know that someone at Disney had the bright idea of turning the attraction known for being frightful and funny into a mild and lifeless movie? And no, I'm not talking about Chapek. This is way before his time. Released on November 23rd, 2003, Eddie Murphy plays Jim.
Okay. The only thing I do love was the style of the mansion, the designs, the cost, the architecture, everything. Even the music is pretty good. The casting, you have General Zog himself playing Ramsey, doing Mr. Evans. Really? The guy who actually fought against Superman sucked in his role. Why can't you make it more darker? In the same year, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl came out the same year and made a whole lot of money. And this one ended up being kaput. You know what's funny? When I was a kid, when I saw it, I was like, oh, it is awesome. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the zombies, which, the zombie designs in this film, okay. The zombie designs are pretty cool. There's even one zombie who's an old man, like literally an old man with only one tooth and a walking cane, where all of them were trying to chase Everett and his daughter while they're trying to escape the mausoleum. That's actually pretty cool. But the cast, and also Jennifer Tilly as Madame Leota. When you hear that voice, it sounds like Bonnie got her head stuck in the crystal ball. Must be her new kink, since she tried to kill Joel a bunch of times, and we know it. There's one time she asked Brian about, okay, is this house safe? She has a wheelchair with a bag of cement representing Joe. Let's go. It hits the rocks below. I'll take it. And Brian's like, dude, you slept with her until she got back with Joe, and he shot you in the leg at the diner. I think that'd be karma. I don't know. I don't know what Joe sees in Bonnie. I still blame Peter because he kind of screwed up their marriage when he said that Bonnie cheated on him in Paris, which, of course, he showed with Rookie Cop until she heard everything through the baby monitor, and it turns out she didn't actually do it because, Lois stopped her from doing it. Yeah. And that Bonnie worked at a strip club back in the 80s. Like, okay. But back to the Haunted Mansion here.
Evers, a realtor who, with his family, visits a mansion that the owner wants to sell. They soon discover that the mansion is haunted, and when they attempt to escape, Jim learns an important lesson about the family he has neglected. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what that lesson was, as I've never been able to finish the movie. While it did turn a profit, making $182 million on a $90 million budget, the movie was panned by critics, as the general consensus was it failed to capture what made the attraction the classic it was known as today. A second attempt to bring the realm of the eerie haunted estate to the silver screen has been in development.
There's been developments. Even, I think it was Guillermo del Toro, who was also involved in doing the Haunted Mansion. Literally, he wanted to do one, but fortunately, due to, a lot of things to do, he couldn't do it. Even Tim Burton wants to get his hands on it as well. But luckily, this is from 2022, so a year later, this film came out. It's quite good. The problem was, the movie was released during the time when Barbie and Oppenheimer were booming in the box office. Yeah, this was released in July, while those two films were still rocking the money and getting the whole pie. I kind of wish they released this movie maybe in September or beginning of October, because October in that year, Five Nights at Freddy's came out a week before Halloween. But I think you still have enough room, because Five Nights at Freddy's will be coming out a week before Halloween. If you release it like the first week of October, it would make a lot of money, and then Five Nights at Freddy's will take it over. But instead, they released it between Barbie and Oppenheimer. Yeah.
Since July 2010, scheduled to release in theaters on March 10th, 2023, featuring a cast of Owen Wilson, Rosario Dawson, Jared Leto, and Danny DeVito. I swear, if DeVito doesn't get to channel his inner Frank Reynolds and starts blasting away at all the ghosts in the mansion, then what's the point of the movie?
He did, in his own way.
When it comes to Disney theme park attractions, the Haunted Mansion is as impressive today as it was when it first opened at Disneyland in 1969, combining a distinct soundtrack, immersive theming, incredible design, and immersive special effects. The attraction is a testament to theme park design and the Imagineers that were able to bring the ghoulish manor to life. There's no doubt that after all these years, the Haunted Mansion is one of the all-time classic attractions, a ghastly, entertaining encounter that everyone needs to experience at least once in their life. Who knows? Maybe one day those 999 happy haunts will welcome another to their supernatural retirement home. The only question is, are there any volunteers? So that is the theme park history of the Haunted Mansion. A special shout out to all the theme park fanatics on my Patreon in the description below. As always, thank you for watching the video and supporting the channel. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment for any attraction you would like us to cover in a future video. Once again, thank you for watching, and until next time, with the crypt doors creak and the tombstones quake, spooks come out for a swinging wake, happy haunts materialize and begin to vocalize, grim grinning ghosts come out to socialize. That was terrible. That's a terrible.
No one's perfect though, but yeah. That was a good review, I tell you what. And I hope he'll upload this is from 2 years ago, so remember, these videos doing research on theme parks take a long time, so this is from 2 years ago and haven't uploaded in a while, so I guess he's working on a new one, which, I don't know, I didn't check the post, so. But yeah, this is actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. And also I did enjoy feeling more detail, like, you forgot to mention the narrator for the Haunted Mansion was Paul Frees, aka Professor Von Drake, and he also did other things like in Disney and not just including Rankin Bass, being the original voice of Santa Claus, and the Burgermeister from Santa Claus Come to Town. Yeah, okay, what's Santa Claus? Rudolph, I believe. He also did, I think he reprised the role in Rudolph in Frosties. Originally, Santa Claus was played by Mickey Rooney, but hey. And he also played Kuba Kraus in Jack Frost. Paul Frees got a lot of acting under his belt, though. It's pretty cool. And also, the person who played Madame Leota, the original bust, actually has been portrayed by two people. One was an Imagineer, I forgot her name, but she was chosen by her exotic Hispanic looks. The other one was the voice actress, I forgot her name, but you might well know her as being the original voice of Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty and Lady Tremaine in Cinderella. Yeah. But yeah, this was a good video. I enjoyed it. And if you want me to see more of these videos, hey, comment down below. I enjoyed some theme park history. I enjoyed history. Who doesn't? But until then, have a great day, everybody. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. Peace out. And also, comment down below if you want me to see other videos like this or anything else. Also, I'm planning to upload a poll, like a vote, see which other video I should react, like paranormal history, comedy, old school animation, or video games. Hey, I'm a gamer too. But until then, stay safe. Peace out. See ya.